This video is about the gun laying drive and the vertical stabilizer. So you probably wonder, which do you use on a given tank? Do you use a gun laying drive or a vertical stabilizer? There's a simple answer, and the answer is it depends on whether or not you move right before you fire. So there are two types of tanks where you would use the gun laying drive, which are SPGs and tank destroyers. So here's a selection of SPGs and tank destroyers, and the reason why is because they tend to be sitting and waiting to fire, which means they're not moving, and the gun laying drive only works when you're not, or does it work all the time? It works when you are sitting and waiting and not moving. The vertical stabilizer does not work unless you have moved. Uh, and there's obviously different types of vehicles. For example, this is a tank destroyer where you tend to be sitting and waiting, which means you're not going to be moving, which means you should not use the vertical stabilizer, and it might not even be an option to be used. There's no option to add a vertical stabilizer. But then you have another vehicle such as a Scorpion, which is right here. This vehicle, you could be stationary or you could be moving. So for this one, you could use a vertical stabilizer, but it's not available. Okay, now in terms of vertical stabilizer, you're probably going to use it on heavy tanks, medium tanks, and light tanks. This is obviously an example of a heavy tank, and the reason why is because you are going to move into a firing position, fire your gun, and reverse. And when you do that, it helps to have the vertical stabilizer because it keeps the bloom smaller. The same is going to be true with a medium tank, where you're going to be doing the same thing, and a light tank where you're constantly moving and you want to fire, you want to use the vertical stabilizer. There is going to be one exception, which is going to be the autoloader. We're going to look at an example of an autoloader, which is, in this case, the Lorraine 40T. It has 4 shells in the magazine. You could use either the vertical stabilizer or the gun laying drive. In this case, I chose the gun laying drive. When you use the autoloader, you might move into a firing position, fire your 4 shots, and then move away. You could use the gun laying drive, or you could use the vertical stabilizer, or you could use both. Okay, so that's the basic rule, how to pick which one you use. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.